Let's see, for me to get in, I mean, I have actually been pursuing ThunderCats for a very, very long time. It was a kind of a lifetime passion, you know, loved the show, the original show, and I don't know, somehow I always wanted to get involved, and when I got into comic books, it was a big deal. You know, for me to see if I could get it back as a comic book, because it had been gone for so long, and, you know, I was lucky enough to kind of work with Jim Lee and John Lee and Homage, and I approached them and wanted to try to get it done, and at the time it was just impossible. You know, we tried everything. They had even tried before. This is just before the 80s wave had kind of taken off, and I think at that point it took another few years for Warner Brothers to actually take DC and buy Wildstorm Comics, and when that happened, since Warner Bros. Had the rights, it made it that much easier. There was a lot of, you know, complications and stuff. But when it came time to it, I couldn't get on it because I was doing another job at the time, and they were in a hurry to get it out, and you know, there was a lot of other complicated factors. But eventually, I was lucky enough to run into this guy Joaquin DeSantos, who was working in Warner Brothers on Justice League, and you know, we were both avid ThunderCats fans, and we talked about somehow, in some way, kind of connecting the dots and getting ThunderCats made into animation. And you know, it was still a pipe dream, and this is way back in 2000. And I had given them Wildstorm Comics a pitch, and I said, yeah, you know, if it's possible, we'll try to, you know, work together and make it happen. And it took a very long time. In 2008, we finally got a chance to work on G.I. Joe Resolute, and we worked really well together. And we had Sam Producer, who was Sam Register, as our producer on Resolute, and you know, the cards just kind of played out. Excuse me, where Sam became the president of Warner Bros. Animation. And we all enjoyed working together, and it was just like, dude, we gotta try this. One last time. And a lot of people have tried it. You know, over the course of those 8 years that I kept in touch with Joaquin, what I didn't know is there was what we call the giant book of bad omens. And that's a lot of failed attempts at relaunching ThunderCats. And there have been a slew of professionals and really good artists that have tried. And it just wasn't right. The chemistry wasn't there. And then somehow, luck of the draw, maybe we just wore them down after X amount of years, but they were like, all right, fine, let's try. So with that, we got lucky enough, and it worked. So it's taken a long time, but we finally did it. Yeah. We got a new chapter.
So you're the man who made it happen?
I will take full credit for that.
All right.
All me, write it down.
I got involved when I first heard there was an animated ThunderCats being made. I camped out in the Warner Brothers Rancher parking lot, waited for the guy who was cast as Tiger to show up, killed him, wore his skin, and I just never figured it out. So it's working out okay so far. No, my agency, you know, sends out audition sides constantly for video games and animated series and stuff to come our way, and I was put on this very secret audition, you know, very much like untitled animation project. Don't tell your other actors you're going in for this type thing. I was like, okay, that's curious. What's this? You're in for the roles of Lion and Tigra. I think I know what this is. I think I have an idea. So after running around screaming for 5 minutes that I'm now auditioning for ThunderCats, I spent days focusing on it, and like out of all the auditions I've done so far, that was the one that I took the most seriously. Like everyone's like, that's cool, you're going for that? I'm like, no, shh, don't jinx it. I need this. But yeah, so went in, read for it, and usually with most projects, you audition and let it go. Like with the career of acting, especially voice acting as well, there's such a constant turnaround to audition and never hear from it again that you just get used to just cycling things through. You audition and let it go, audition, let it go. And if you don't get it, then you forgot about it, and that's fine. If you do get it, it's a nice surprise. But ThunderCats is one of those things that, like, I auditioned and then just waited. And I shouldn't have, but I just waited like week 2, week 3. My brother wanted me to come visit him in Portland. I was like, wait, I'll put it off just in case I hear something. Week 4, nothing. And then I was at a writer's meeting I got the phone call from my agent, Sandy, and she's like, hey, so we got a new nickname for you around the office. I'm like, oh God, what did I do? What did I do? She's like, wow, we're calling you Tiger now. And it took like 30 seconds for that to sink in. Like, I was like, why would you, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, oh. Wait, really? And then my friend Matt Key, my writing partner's house, he recalls me hanging up with my agent, being, oh, thank you very much, that's fantastic. No, I'm excited, thank you, that's great. All right, I'll see you later, bye. He's just like running around in a circle around his couch. Yeah, that's how I got involved.
It was very close. When we heard audition, he read for both Tiger and Lino, and he could have been either. Really, he had both, but he.
Don't tell Will that.
No, he had something very distinguishing. It was very, aristocratic, to some extent with the Tiger thing, and that just kind of laid into the character and what we were looking for to show the contrast between Tiger and Lino. So there was none other. It was this guy. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, I happened to come on the project as a result of working on a film for Disney, of all things. I worked on a film called Tangled back in 2010. And most of my career has been as an orchestrator and not as a composer. Subtle differences. And the Disney guys sort of took notice of what I could do, and they sent me on an interview with Warner Brothers, the music department. So I had my interview and found out I was up against about 12 other guys to get the job, and I had to do a demo to get this job. And I figured, if I'm going to do it, do it right. And they asked for what was it? Lord of the Rings meets John Williams meets Ennio Morricone. I'm not sure why Ennio Morricone was in there, because I can't even imagine using Ennio's music in ThunderCats. It just doesn't make any sense. So I demoed and I gave it my all and got the gig.
Yeah.
It's been good. That's about it.
Well, let's see. My involvement came from an email I saw at about 2 a.m. in the morning. I had come from the world of comic books, and I had been teaching high school in New York City for about 6 years. And then in 2008, I just got up and said, you know what, I want to go for my dream of being a screenwriter in Hollywood before I got too old, because there is an age issue in Hollywood. So at the age of 35, I just packed up my entire life and just moved out to LA. And I went to a graduate school at Boston University, and one of the things that they did was send us out here just years ago and connect us with a lot of people who already worked in the industry. One of those people was a guy by the name of Jeff Klein, who produced like almost every show, every animated series from like the late 90s throughout the early 2000s. He's even produced stuff up till now. And one of the guys who had worked with Jeff Klein is one of the executive producers of ThunderCats, a guy by the name of Michael Jelnick. And I had met Michael through like mutual connections, and I come up to the ranch way before I even knew ThunderCats was being produced, and I pitched a Batman Brave and the Bold concept, which was the show he was working on at the time. And I had been raised with the 1990s version of Batman, which was the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. So my pitch was, Batman Brave and the Bold is more close to the Dick Sprang version of Batman than the Bruce Timm version of Batman. So what I pitched actually was completely wrong. So he sent me an email and was like, dude, this is not the show I work on, I'm sorry, damn, that's my shot. So I went back to my awful life of working all these jobs out here and praying I get a gig someday. And in the middle of the night I get in, and I get online and I see the press release. It just went out saying that Warner Brothers Animation is doing ThunderCats, and I saw all the names of the producers and the art team, and I said, whoa, Michael Jelnick's there. So let me just send him an email just to see what would happen. And about, I'd say 3 days later, he gets back to me, and in an email I said, look, dude, I know I didn't do well with the Batman pitch, but I'm really good at a good action writer. Just give me a shot here. And I said, I'll even get you guys coffee and water for free. I just need to be at the ranch. I actually wrote that email. I still And he says, look, you know, things are pretty tight, but let me see what I can do. So I think about 10 months went by, and I was sitting there like, oh, well, I guess that's the end of that. And then one day, I ran into Michael at Comic-Con, I think it was 2011. And he was like, look, you know, things are still tight, but let me see what I can do. And I'm just like, Jesus, just tell me no. You know, because as a writer, you really get used to people saying things like that, but you never hear from them again, you know. Then, sadly, on the day that Dwayne McDuffie, who was the story editor for Justice League, he passed away, I get this email from Michael saying, hey, do you want to come up to the ranch? And I'm like, for what? You know, to tell me, you know, in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, what's this about? I go up to the ranch, and then I walk in, and I see Dan Norton sitting there with this big book of art. And I'm like, what's going on? And they start breaking the story for what would be. And I had no idea that was going to be the writer.
For the record, this man got to write lines of dialogue that were then read by Jeffrey Combs, which is awesome. Yeah. The Reanimator is what I'm talking about. Also true, yes. And at the time, he was doing a one-man show in Los Angeles based on Edgar Allan Poe. So he had this awesome, like, creepy pencil-thin mustache, and his hair was slicked back, and he recorded. And so it was just like when you expect to be Jeffrey Combs, you don't know what to expect. And then that showed up, and I was like, no, that's what I should have expected. He's suitably creepy and really awesome and warm and welcoming, but super creepy.
And when I saw
pants, right?
I'm pretty sure he had pants on.
When I saw Dan's art for what would be the Soul Seven, I was like, this is insane. I was like, we should do a Blade Runner type story with like androids and souls. And he was like, yeah, you know, you're kind of on the point already. And I was like, all right, we'll see where this goes. So.
All right, so one of the things that I think a lot of fans noticed off the bat is that every episode almost felt like it was a movie. And this question is mainly for Dan, but Brandon, you can probably add some insight too. How difficult was it to tell such a robust story every week in a 30-minute time frame?
Wow. Well, I mean, that's, again, it involves a gun. No, we, you know, it was kind of cool because a lot of the stuff that, you know, for me, from my experience, you know, all this time, a lot of these stories that kind of came out through the show were concepts and ideas that I got to develop and let really marinate over all this time before the cartoon was ever approved, before it ever came around. You know, like I'd actively worked at like thinking of storylines and characters and whatnot prior to the show. And so I guess we had an arsenal of ideas to kind of pick through right away. It was like, okay, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's that. You know, we threw all these ideas on the table. So, and being that ThunderCats is just one of these incredible sandbox properties that has so much diversity. It's already so rich with characters loaded in from the old school show. It really wasn't hard to find, you know, something interesting to tell about a character, you know, because we had so much given already. You know, some of the one-off stuff, some of the things that are a little stranger. I mean, those were just kind of fun ideas that came around, you know, either during the show or whatever. We had some bits and pieces, but you know, I think it just says a lot about the creativity of the writers and the people on the show. There was a lot of talented guys on the show, and they had interesting things to say, and you know, it just worked out.
All right, this next question is for Kevin. The original series is remembered for its amazing opening sequence. I think everyone here pretty much knows it's one of the best opening sequences of an 80s show that there was at the time. And the musical themes for each character. So why was there less emphasis on these elements in the reboot, and was there any sort of push to try to get more than what was included?
Well, first of all, the opening, I agree with you. I wished that I could have done something longer. But Warner.
Longer than 6 seconds?
Yeah.
Really?
We had, if you remember, we had 3 different versions.
Oh,
We had a
right.
15-second, we had a 10-second, which wound up being what we stuck with, and we had a 6-second. And I'm going, how in the hell am I going to fit in that theme in 6 seconds? And thankfully, they went with the 10 seconds, which still wasn't enough time to really put in what I wanted to put in. I would have liked a 30-second, maybe even a minute, but Warner was adamant about having a 10-second intro. As for the themes, that's an interesting question because they came to me and said, we have clearance to use some of the themes from the original show, not all of them. And if you decide to use them, you're only limited to using them in a certain amount of time. So for instance, the ThunderCats theme, you can only use up to 15 seconds worth. Okay, fine.
I mean, you know, from a production standpoint, the problem is there's a lot of legalities that go on with licensing for music, and we didn't have a lot of money, and it was costing a lot of money to actually acquire some of the licensing rights from Rankin and Bass.
Right.
So it just wasn't really available to us as much as we'd like, and a lot of the sounds that are so iconic with the show. The way that it was recorded back during the original show is the sound was actually laced into the master tracks. So you have dialogue that's over top of it, you have sound effects over top of it. There's no clean actual music, it's all lumped together. And so in order to kind of distill down some of those sounds, it would take an incredible process just to get to that point. And then, you know.
Yeah, there were numerous themes that they said when we sat down in this meeting. They said there's this danger theme, like it's something like that. So I listened to it and I said, I am not writing that into my score. I had clearance to use like 5 other themes that I wound up not using any of them. I just wound up using the ThunderCats theme, I think maybe 4 times, in very small snippets. So in terms of character themes, I wanted the show to go in a different direction and not be tied to the old show, especially since a lot of what the old show had to offer musically was cheesy 80s rock. So I was told specifically to stay away from that.
I think even with the rebranding and you know, even across the board with the music, the art, the stories, there was an amazing amount of restrictions and limitations, you know, legally and just story-wise. You know, the old show had 132 episodes. We were, you know, supposed to be 52, and well, I mean, 52 was not guaranteed, but 26 was our first chunk. And what you realize very quickly is you have to distill everything down to its very core component. You have to strip away everything that's that makes the show clunky in any way, that makes it, you know, that doesn't give you a core to each of the characters, so you understand a defined arc to the characters, to see where they're going, to tell these kind of very small stories. Everything had to be broken down to its lowest common denominator, and we had to build out of that. And when you're left with that much, it does give you a chance to kind of approach it in a fresh way. And I think artistically, you know, what we were left with was we just had to take the impression of the feeling on a lot of things and just move forward with that. And you know, Kevin, his music is a reflection. Like, he took it and he went with it. And I think, you know, he really took it to a whole nother level. I mean, it really added the scope of you know, any movie, any fantasy movie, any movie in general. I mean, it really took it to a new height. And to get that out of a cartoon show, I mean, is a rare thing. So we're really lucky to have Kevin, you know, do things.
I distinctly recall we had just finished doing a bunch of ADR and stuff on the first 2-episode arc, like the open, I think the kind of the 1 hour 2-episode opener, and everything we had seen. We watched a good chunk of it in post. We know it was all just dialogue. We
this one up again, but I want to open it up to everyone. How much emphasis was there to include nods to the Dragon Back series?
I mean, all of us were fans of the show. I mean, without question, it meant a lot to us. We wouldn't have a show if the old show didn't exist. I mean, honestly, there were even the Code of Thundera. Who doesn't live by that a little bit? Huh? Truth, justice, honor, loyalty. Come on. Yeah, come on. So it made a big impression, and I think for the collection of us, we were fans making a fan tribute to an incredible show. It's what it was. So whenever we could include a character within a background, it's really weird because you have all these like limitations that you can't really get away with in a show, including model sheets and how many people you can draw. It's just, there's always brackets, and we try to sneak in as much as we could, get away with whatever we could, and still tell the story that we needed to tell. So it was good. And, we can't reveal certain things, so I mean, I know there was a ton of people that were like, "Where's Safari Joe? Where is he? Who's watching that? Want him?" I know that was in there, and trust me, we were like, "Oh man, if we could tell you what's going on, you'd love it," But we had to hold back, and so we got in what we could, wherever we could, and that was really important for us.
All right, I'm going to try to sneak in one more question here, and then I think I'm going to open it up for any parent questions. Favorite episode from everyone, either from your contribution perspective or just from you watched it on TV and you thought, "Oh man, this is really awesome."
I think for me, I've told Brandon this, episode 8, The Duelist and the Drifter, that was actually the idea that changed the entire show. That was like when we were initially trying to figure out the direction of the show and what it really was going to be about, like how we were going to tell these stories and frame them to be these morality tales and showcase Lionel's growth as, a boy to a man and a man to a king. Like, we had to include these kind of life lessons, and, that was really locked in on episode 8. That was the first idea that I pitched to them, and they were like, "That's it. We want every episode to have this feel like, so it kind of showcases interesting characters, it kind of shows the world, and then it gives Lionel something to grow on without it being so on the nose, like, don't talk to strangers, like, you didn't have to have that, because you could see the growth in Lionel. You could see it happen by who he interacted with, and so that kind of became the key of the show. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that Song of the Peddlers made giant rooms of grown men cry every time it was played, and it was fascinating to watch. You see a bunch of hard-looking CEOs in suits, like, just going, and this is at the animatic stage. This is with temporary music, and it's just like bad drawings, but somehow it always made people cry. So, I guess with that, I should say, wrap up my side. I brought my family in, and it was really great, because I finally got to say, "I'm in a TV show, Mom and Dad," like, here it is, and to bring in my sister and her kids and stuff, and show them, like, here's what I do, and to see them all just lose their minds and start crying, it was like, yeah, yeah, that's cool. So I think that's your goal as a storyteller, is to really just make people feel something. And to get that out of a cartoon, that's top shelf. So I'm in turn.
I would say definitely Song of the Peddlers. Like, even when we were recording that, like, reading the script, it was one of those things you get the script a couple days beforehand, you're reading through, like, oh, okay, this is a cool story, this is No, it's just really hot in here. It's gonna be like a water with some ice.
Dude, I watched Matt's face when we were at Will's house watching this, and let me tell you, it was so fun. He had this face on him like this. He was all like, Like, together, just angry, like, I won't cry, you won't see it. Oh, dude, it was the best. Thanks. I love it. That was fun.
Thanks for that. That's okay. I'm also, I mean, I'm obviously biased, but bias aside, Native Son, the Wind to Tiger's background, the story was just so good, and it really, for me also as an actor, from an actor perspective, even knowing his history told to me, actually seeing the story unfold like that, and the dynamics between his newly discovered father, and dealing with the fact that now he has a place really to call home, but versus what is home, you know, the home he grew up with, the home that's now apparently here, and then seeing the animation. God, the animation of that episode is so incredible, and just, I don't know, the storytelling, that to me was also, on its own, a fantastic episode. And then, of course, to have it be Tiger-centric, I was like, this is cool, I get to have a really good episode for me. Yay! Yeah, I think those two, Native Son and Song of the Peddlers, definitely.
I'm going to make it top three. First one would be Song of the Peddlers. And I think pretty much everybody involved would have to say, you know, Michael and Ethan, I know that's their favorite too. Yeah. But I was crying when I was writing the music. And it's rare for me to make myself cry writing music, but that was, it was especially, I mean, without the music, it was making me choke up. But then when I put the music to it, I'm tearing up writing. Wait for a second. Okay, I can't. So, it was an honor to work on that one. That was definitely heart-wrenching. Then number 24. Yeah. Soul Sever was my second favorite to work on. That was so different from anything that had come before, and I took a different approach on that. I made it a little bit darker, like the Dark Knight music from Hans Zimmer, James Howard. So that was a lot of fun to work on. And then 17, Native Son, because that was also another opportunity for me to explore, you know, the backstory with Tiger and again write music that sort of made me choke up at the end, and it made Ethan and Michael choke up. Oh, yeah. When they, you know, at the very end, when they finally, you know, what was it? Tiger says, or I forget Lionel, or Tiger says, you know, you'll always be my brother. Yeah. That was like, wow. So those are my top three.
I love the pilot a lot, a whole lot. I like the way it just brought everything in, and it was an encapsulation of so many different things, including the nods to the old series. I can't remember the title. It's the one where Lionel goes to his ancestors' background, and they fighting in space with the armor on. What's that?
Legacy.
Yeah, Legacy was insane. Like, I was like, oh my God, they're actually going there.
I remember when Dan told me about it, he's like, just keep an eye in the background. I'm like, okay, why?
Yeah,
right. Sea Monstro from Silverhawks. I'm like, what? Really?
But Peddlers, I'll tell you, I went to Dan's office and he put it on. I'm like, what is this? It's the Leaf People. And then at the end, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I'm not going to cry. This guy doesn't know me.
I told you it was cool. Cry, baby.
Seriously, like, I came up with an idea for a sequel episode right there. I can't talk about that. My point is that when I saw that, the idea of just somebody being born and dying on the same day, and their whole conception of reality is based on that, and it's, good Lord, that was beautiful. I mean, this whole TV series don't even get close to what that episode did, you know, emotionally speaking, because for a screenwriter, it's all about emotion, not necessarily action. And that had all the emotion you needed for the quality storytelling.
You know, before we come up with Emmerich, and to kind of be the voice of the flower people, you know, or the Peddlers, I was trying to push this idea purely for the comedy aspect of it. That would be funny. So there's a period of time, you know, in like even in our own history, where we call the Dark Ages. I wanted Lionel to basically put all the flower people in a bag, and while they're running through the forest, there was a whole bunch of them dying constantly. The petals would be popping out of the bag. And so then they'd finally get out and they'd open the bag up like, here you go, guys, you're free. And they'd be like, whoa, the Dark Ages are over. Oh, the stories, you know. I just thought that would be hilarious. But we ended up mixing that. But we did find the voice of Emmerich out of that, and it was kind of funny that we would identify with him. So, God, I always think about them, just running through and all the pedals for every day. Good times.
All right, let's open it up to fan questions. In the Angels hat.
Okay, this might be a question for Dan. What is the future of the series that you work on and of the franchise as a whole of ThunderCats?
Sure. You know, I know this is a burning question for everybody, and you know, I would love to, you know, say it's going to go on forever, but you know, truth be told, we were put on hiatus, and you know, the final word and all of that. I mean, it's really not for me to say. I you know, like that really is for Warner Brothers and Warner Cartoon Network to say if they want to say officially. For me personally, you know, I'm working on another show right now because I need to pay bills. You know, so I can only really speak on hope that I hope it continues because I have a ton of stories that I want to tell. And what we did do before we went on to hiatus, the first 5 episodes are so amazing. It really takes the whole series into another stratosphere, and it will blow your mind. And knowing what we had planned for 52 episodes, the story is utterly epic. It goes just into new levels, and I think that's where it was. Like I think self-admittedly, the first 13 are really a build-up of, you know, as I said before, there's a character arc happening, and that's you know, Lionel becoming a boy to a man to a king to a kingdom, a kingdom to, you know, the end. It really was going to be something spectacular. So I mean, I would love for the show to continue and go on. And, you know, I would quit any job that I ever worked on to come back to it and do it if there was any opportunity to do it. So, but right now the show stands as officially on hiatus, and you know, it's what it is. So, yeah.
Tim?
Yeah, my question's for Dan. When you were creating the series, did Warner Brothers provide you any source material from the old series, the Bible or anything?
No. It's, you know, and not to denigrate anything of what Warner Bros. Done, but you know, most of the efforts are purely up to the creative team to do their own research and do their own thing. I mean, I think if Warner Brothers really knew what ThunderCats was, what they had, they would have come out 15 years ago. It would be, you know, actively on shelves and be out there. So for us to finally kind of crack the code, and you know, whatever that is, we had to do, you know, all the research. We had to literally rewatch every single episode on our own time, and you know, I'm not gonna lie to you, I watched it 4 times speed just to get it all in. You know, but no, it was we were kind of left to our own devices to kind of figure it out, and I think that's the beauty of Warner Brothers, is they let us kind of do what we felt was necessary for the show. We didn't really, you know, jump down our throats, or they didn't have any expectations. They weren't really familiar with the property enough to really know what it was supposed to do. It's not like Batman, where you look at Batman and you're like, this is Batman, this is how he works, this is what he does. They're like, what's a ThunderCat? You know, you mean is there actual thunder? What is that? You know, no, they were really good. Sam was really great, you know, behind the show as an executive. Like I said, he let us kind of spread our wings and do things. And you know, there were fights that we had, you know, with like creatively you want to do certain things, but you only get so many of those, and then you're like, all right, I'll do what you tell me. You know?
I think we got time for one more question. You in the front here.
Okay, I was wondering, Matthew, you said you wrote the line on Tiger. I want to know who you were secretly hoping to get and who's your favourite ThunderCat?
Interesting. I was hoping to get Panther, strangely. That wouldn't work. No. Well, you know, reading for both Lionel and Tigra's fun, and to be honest, the first passive auditions that went out, I think Lionel was a little bit younger, at least the way he was placed in the audition side. So the artwork and everything was pushing him to be more like 15, 16. And that, while I can play that range, it's not as fun or interesting per se than the way they played out the Tiger character. And especially kind of that kind of slightly haughty, arrogant, you know, but soft on the inside, but kind of reserving that exterior of cool. To me, was a very interesting dynamic. Just the initial character breakdown. So I was hoping for Tiger at the very beginning, just because I love the artwork and the design, and the character personality they laid out for it seemed really interesting. So I was happy that worked out well.
And he gets the guitar.
Yes, that was, man, as soon as we got that script, I called Will and was like, did you get the script? Did you get the script for 13? Did you get the script? He's like, yeah. I'm like, did you read the end? Did you read the end? He's like, yeah. What happened, Will? What happened at the end of the script, Will? And he hung up on me. And since then, like whenever an episode would come around, like something bad would happen to Tiger, or something awesome would happen to Lionel, and we'll be like, yes, Lionel got the stone. And we'll be like, yes, but he still doesn't have Chitara. Boom. And then we started getting through the season, he's like, yeah, but now he has Pumaira. And then he got in that season, I was like, oh, what? I still got a girlfriend. Yeah.
All right, so I think we're almost out of time. Very quick, is there anything, any current projects that you want to update the fans on or promote or anything like that?
Well, I'm working on stuff on my own, and right now it's not really ready to go up. But you can go to I guess my Tumblr site, Science of Art Math Dan Norton, on Tumblr. I'm not sure of the address, but no, I'm working on something, and I've really been looking at Kickstarter and seeing how Kickstarter works, and I would like to hope that I'm going to take a new approach to Kickstarter and how it's made. And it's going to be a project that I want to build it so it's inclusive. I want everyone to make it with me, and by doing that, I'm going to ask you to vote on how I'm going to give you options essentially. How the project is going to be built, and most cartoons you pretty much you get what you get, and then you become a fan of it or you don't. So I'm really hoping to kind of construct this to work so you get to participate, and we're going to make it together. So as I'm building this Kickstarter program, hopefully it'll do something inventive and fresh, and we'll all have a say in making a cartoon together. So. More information to come. Check me out on Facebook or on Tumblr or DeviantArt, and I'll keep posting stuff. So,
cool. Yeah. Promotional stuff. Let's see. Next week, about a week and a half from now, Resident Evil 6 comes out. Where I voice Leon Kennedy, as well as I guess it's out pretty soon also, Resident Evil Damnation, which is a CGI film that kind of bridges up before Resident Evil 6 as well. It's on Blu-ray. I think it's already available for digital download, but check those out. I'm also working on a web series production called Batgirl Spoiled, which is a live-action fan film following Stephanie Brown as Batgirl, with a lot of really, really talented actors. My girlfriend Marisha Ray actually plays Batgirl, has been fight training for like a year, and she can now protect me. It's really awesome. She can defend my honor in public. And other than that, I have an animated web series that I guess we're just now kicking into pre-production finally after 3 years of trying to get that going, called The Four. It's about basically the four horsemen of the apocalypse arriving to destroy the world, and then most of them end up deciding they like it here. So they end up getting a place in Pasadena. But anyway, any and all future projects I'll be promoting and putting up them on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. So find me there if you're interested in following and seeing what's going on.
Is one of them Ric Flair?
Which one?
Is one of the four horsemen Ric Flair?
I'll think about that. Although we currently have Roddy Rob Piper attached to be voicing more. So we got some interesting folks in this one. It should be good.
I'm working on 2 projects right now, one of which you probably won't care about, one of which you probably will. One is a new Disney TV series and movie. It's a new princess series. They're introducing a new princess called Sophia the First. And I just finished scoring that movie, starting up the series in late October. So that's the one you don't care about. When you do
Sophia
care
the
about
First, did she just take the first princess? Did she show up and be like, no, I was before all of you? Because I'll watch that.
We can make it happen. The second one is the new Superman movie that I'm scoring. And it's, right now it's called War for Krypton. It's going through a few name changes, but as of now it's called War for Krypton. And it's the story of pretty much Superman versus Brainiac. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through on that story. It's sounding awesome.
Yeah. See, I had a graphic novel released earlier this year, January, called Shadow Law.
Shadow Law.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cross between Transformers and Underworld, this guys in mech armors fighting cyborg vampires. It's much cooler than it sounds. Lots of reviews online, all positive. I also do a podcast for anybody who's an aspiring writer. It's called Writing for Rookies, and it's free. And I have about 16 episodes of interviews, tutorials, and seminars about how to break into comic book writing, screenwriting, animation, the whole 9 yards. So if anybody out there who knows somebody, or if you yourself is interested, it's called Writing for Rookies. I have so much going on right now. I am working for a company called Lion Forge Entertainment. They're a brand new transmedia company out of St. Louis. I just signed a 6-book deal with them, and they're going to be rolling out a ton of graphic novel stuff over the next year, including a Andre the Giant and Randy Macho Man Savage biography in comic book form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm working. I'm a big wrestling fan, so we're going to be working on that. We're going to be working with their families too to make sure that everything is pretty accurate. So, and that's about it for now. So, check out shadowlawonline.com and Writing for Rookies.
All right, let's give our panelists a round of applause.